In the last video, we created inside our weather fragment an anonymous class called fetchWeatherData, which we extended with async tasks. We passed in our URL, we voided the progress, and we said we would like a string returned. And basically what we did is we called our HTTP GET response in here, or HTTP GET method, and we stored that in a string called weather result, which we made over here, and we then return that string, and we've also exception handled it quite nicely so that our application doesn't crash. And what that has done is it has basically given us this string here. So you see we are logging the weather result string, and that is what weather result contains at the moment. It contains a large string of JSON. If I copy this JSON and I stick it in the JSON formatter, process it, you will see that it is valid JSON, and we can now fiddle with the objects in it and see what they look like. So the first thing that we have to understand is that this little string weather result right now contains this massive JSON object. And we need to start working with it to pull out the sub-objects that exist. So you'll see that there is a daily forecast weather array, JSON array, sorry. And this JSON array inside it has the date, but it also has the following objects. It has an object for temperature, it has an object for day, it has an object for night, it has an array for sources, it has a mobile link, and it has a normal web link. If we click on temperature, we'll see that temperature contains an array for an object for the minimum and the maximum values, and inside the minimum is the actual value. And this will be there exactly 5 times. So this is Durban's weather for today, which is, if you would want to know, pretty crap. So in order for us to start working with this, we have to actually create another method, because we need the do in background method to complete. Otherwise, we'll never have the string. So that method is called onPostExecute. And if we look at onPostExecute here, we'll see that it actually accepts a string, and that we only have access to it because we extended the async superclass. So we can right now say we would like to pass in the weather result, and we're going to do the same thing here. So we are passing this big chunk of that JSON right in here. And what we're going to do in here is we are going to check if that weather result is not empty, we actually want to go and call a method. Okay, but we don't have that method yet. We have to go build that method. So I'm just going to change my brackets because I always like them this way. So we want a method that will actually give us an array list to which we can store all of our JSON objects so that we can later populate the list view with them. So before we can do this, we need to go build our array list. So I've already added the array list here. You guys can just go and add it quickly. And it's of type forecast. And if you remember back from last semester, we've done this, and we do this quite a bit. Forecast is just a data model. It has the getters and setters for the properties we would like to use. So we have maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and date. And we've made private strings, and I've just done alt insert to generate getters and setters for them. All right, so please go and make this class and generate your getters and setters. And once we are ready with that, we can go back into our weather fragment and create this array list. So we would now like a class that returns an array list. So we can go make a public class of type array list, and this array list needs to be of type forecast. And we're going to call it, this method, call it consume JSON, and it will also take a string with a result. Right. And right now Android's going to start shouting at us because we are not returning anything. We have a missing return statement, and the Android Dracula dark mode IDE shouts at you properly. So something you always need to do when we deal with stuff like this is we need to check if that array list is empty. And if it's not, we need to handle that, because if you have multiple searches, or if we connect to the API, say we connect to the API, we lose internet connection and we connect again, if we don't clear the array list will now have two sets of data, one being too old. So the first thing we then do is we go check that this array list called daily forecast, if it is not empty, please empty it. Okay, now we are ready to go and get our first JSON object. So we're just going to say JSON object all weather data, because this is going to contain that. So basically everything in here. And this is pretty cool. We can just say it's a new JSON object and it takes a string. And we're going to say weather result. You're going to get another red squiggly here, and it's going to tell you there's an unhandled exception. Find the red light bulb and just surround with try catch. And just fix the brackets because this is just untidy. Right. Now we have this stored in a JSON object. We have a massive JSON object called all weather data, but we want this. We want the daily forecast, and as we can see here, it is a JSON array. So we can just go and say we would like a JSON array, and it is our 5-day weather data because it contains 5 days equals, and we can then go say all weather data dot get JSON array. So we then access that object to say look within yourself for a JSON array called daily forecasts in inverted commas. Right, so we now have a massive object that contains all of this JSON, and we have a JSON array that contains the 5-day forecast. If we open this array, however, we will see it has a date, but it also has other objects. It has a temperature object, a day object, a night object, and a sources array. And the temperature object has other sub-objects. It has minimum and maximum. You see it will be there for every date for 5 times. So we're just going to pull out the date for now, but you will see that we'll have to go into the object to get a hold of the values as we go further. So the date is right on the root of this object, so we don't actually have to do much more. However, we're going to have to iterate this array to pull out these 5 massive objects, because date is inside this object. Do you guys see this? So, and there is the next day's date, and there is the next day's date. So we literally have to iterate this array, and we have to pull out an object. So that's very easy to do. We can just go and say for, this is the point where I miss Visual Studio, int I equals 0 if I is less than our 5-way weather data length. We increment I so that we can eventually kill this loop. And we now go and say we have a JSON object. We would like you to pull out the JSON object for individual day data. And we want you to do that by using the 5-day weather data dot get JSON object. So what it will do is it will iterate the array, and it will pull out each one of these 5 JSON objects, which we can see is an object by the curly brackets, and it will store it for us in individual day data. So I'm going to end the video here and start with the next video for date. The videos, if they are too long, I think are frustrating.